Sometimes I hear instructions in yoga classes about having a flat low back, especially in supine or lying down positions. In yoga, we want to really honor the curves, especially the lumbar curve, because for so many of us, we've lost strength in our lumbar curve and it has gotten flat. So we need to build the muscles to recreate or rejuvenate or restore the curve. We'll start in a seated position, and you might want to have blocks for this seated position so that you can keep a nice elongation of the spine. I'm sitting on blocks in order to get more forward on my sits bones. Reach over with the left hand, take your right arm up and reach to the side. Before doing a lot of lumbar strengthening, to get the length from the pelvic point to the armpit allows us so much more freedom in the strengthening actions. Lift up, take your opposite arm to the side, reach over. I like using the hand kind of as a kickstand. As I press the right hand firmly, I can feel the left sit bones root down with this anchored effect. It stabilizes the pelvis so fully. Rise up one more time. Take the right arm up, reach over. Inhale, rise up. Left hand reaches over. Rise up. Come to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. In this downward facing dog, lift your heels high, bend your knees, lift your sit bones high, so we get a nice curve in the spine. Keeping that curve, just move side to side, kind of swinging your pelvis in a way that allows you once again to just bring your attention to lengthening of the side body. You can turn your heels in your movements. Just keep your knees bent for now. Come to a place of stillness and draw your heels toward the mat. Now lift the heels again, bend your knees, lift your sit bones, straighten your legs, draw from the pelvis down toward the heels. Inhale, lift your heels high, bend your knees, lift your sit bones high to really refine that lumbar curve that we're strengthening through this practice. Now draw the heels down toward the mat without flattening that low back, trying to keep the curve as much as possible. Step your right foot right between your hands. Bring your back knee down. Keep your left hand down. Lift your right arm up to turn your heart toward the inner right knee. Some of you might even be able to come to your forearms to hold that twist, your choice. Release your hand. Come back to downward facing dog. Now to a plank position. From there, draw your knees to the floor. Come forward and drop your chest to the floor. So your pelvis is lifted. Draw the top of the thigh down, lift up. Come back to downward facing dog. Step your left foot right between your hands. Bring your back knee down. Twist, open the chest really nicely. Your choice, if you'd like to come down to your forearm in the twist, feel free to. Release your hand down. We'll come to 8-point pose again through downward facing dog. Plank position where the knees come to the mat, the shoulders move forward to allow the heart to come to the floor. The tops of the thighs come to the floor to lift up. The 8-point pose that we just did really builds on the strength of the lumbar curve. Now step your right foot forward. Keep your back knee lifted. Look forward. Now slowly come toward a straight right leg. Now this is where you find the low back really flatten out. So let's use blocks. So grab your blocks. Come to the lunge again. I like even using high blocks so I can keep the natural curves of the spine that we're working on as we now come toward a straight leg and bend your knee again. We come toward straightening the leg and bend the knee. One last time. On the exhale breath, you straighten the leg. You can release yourself out of this pose. Now let's trade sides. So step your left foot forward. Take your right foot back. Starting in this high lunge position. Very slow movement here as you straighten the front leg and draw a little bit deeper into your lunge. As you lift up, just through the power of your fingers, lifting up so that the heads of the arm bones come back more. You can get a little bit more opening in the upper chest and find a lot more freedom in the action. Take your blocks to your side. Step back to downward facing dog. Come to a plank position, knees to the floor. Chest forward and down, thighs down, rise up. One more time, we'll do that. From downward facing dog, come forward toward plank to draw your knees down. Get a nice lumbar curve as you slowly take your heart to the earth. Now the tops of the thighs come to the earth as you move into Bhujangasana. Draw yourself back to downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, the last 8-point pose, we come to a plank. Draw the knees down, the heart forward. Heart leads the way. Draw the tops of the thighs down to move into a nice cobra pose. Now lower yourself down on your belly. Reach your hands straight back. Spread your fingers to get tone in the upper arms. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, soften. Inhale, lift your feet up. Reach your hands back. Hands can be nice and wide apart. Exhale, soften. One more. Inhale, expand and lift. Exhale, soften. Salambhasana is a great strengthener for your back. Let's move to Dhanurasana or bow pose. Dhanurasana can be very accessible to all of us. If you bend your knees and reach your hands back, that is one variation. If you can hold on to your feet, by all means do that. Let's begin. Reach your hands back. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, soften. Inhale, lift up and soften down. If your feet are available to you and you haven't already grabbed them, inhale, lift up. Now stay in the pose. Have your feet very active. Your legs are strong. Your breath is full. Slowly release down out of the pose. Come to a seated pose. When you sit in Dandasana, does it feel like the spine kind of collapses for you? Mine does. I like sitting on a little elevation. Could be a blanket. Since I've got the blocks here, I'm going to sit on the blocks. This allows much more axial elongation. My legs are active. As you expand, even though this pose seems so passive, if your legs are active, if you're moving forward on your sit bones, you can open your chest nicely. And it sets you up for a wonderful twisting action as you bend your right knee. Just take your left hand to the outer right knee. Keep your left leg as active as it was in Dandasana. Turn toward the bent leg. By using the right hand to once again balance the pelvic action, so both sits bones are firmly planted, it allows for nice stability on the sit bones, which naturally evolves to more mobility in the upper chest. Release, and let's come to the opposite side. So first, let's meet in Dandasana with our toes very engaged. Feel the kneecaps lifting up toward the pelvis as an expression of that engagement. Bend your left knee. Draw yourself into a very accessible twist. If you feel like you can go deeper, by all means, but this easy twist after back bending just has a nice way to affirm the lengthening that we did at the beginning of the practice and the strengthening of the low back that we did in the back bends. Release yourself out of the pose. Come to lie on your back. Take your right hand right under the lumbar spine, the low back. All the work that you did to strengthen the lumbar spine, perhaps you're feeling that strengthening effect with a nice curve in that area. With your hand still under the low back, lift your right leg up. Now notice if you lift up, your hand gets crushed. So take your foot just to that point where you still can maintain a strong lumbar curve, draw your foot down toward the mat, go slow. Lift your right foot up, and again, just want to take it up to the point where you still have a nice engagement, nice lumbar curve, and slowly draw down. Lift up. Draw down. You get greater tone in the leg through a nice spread of the toes, not only of the lifting right leg, but also the stationary left leg. One last cycle. Lift your right leg up. Release your right foot down. And take it all the way to the earth. Free your right hand. Just pause here for a moment. Find fullness in your breath. Slide your left hand in that low back area with the palm facing down. On the in-breath, take your left leg up. And once again, just see where that point is so that you still have a strong lumbar curve. And that's the point that you'll be taking the leg up. You'll just draw down slowly, keeping a nice energetic action, tone to the muscles of the leg as you draw up and down. Notice the full engagement you have in the leg, all the way from the heel to the pelvis. And slowly lift up. Take it down slowly. Inhale. Exhale. All the way to the earth. Free your left hand. Turn your palms up. Close your eyes. Take your attention to your breath. Breathe in and breathe out long. Keep a nice ease about your breath. A softness to your facial muscles. A feeling of surrender. The arms, just allow the arms and the legs to be so heavy. You feel so supported. You recognize the natural curves in the spine. Breathe in Breathe out. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Come to what feels like to you a very natural rhythm in the breath. It's flowing very freely and naturally. Bend your knees to plant your feet. Reach your arms up and over your head. Draw over to your side to slowly lift yourself up. Sit for a moment, sit tall, to dwell in the afterglow of this practice. Place your hands in front of your heart to honor the many teachings of yoga that allow us to refine our alignment to gain both strength and mobility in those refinements. We bow to the teachings. Namaste.